So guys, the Arewa Forum is challenging Tinubu's plan to move a section of the Cbn and Faan to Lagos. I mean, they are saying that all the government parastatals and government offices located in Abuja are not supposed to be moved to any other section of the country. So it appears the North has now claimed monopoly over Abuja. But I'm going to allow you just listen to this video and we'll come back to talk on this.
The leadership in the North has shifted to a new generation like us that are less patient, that are in a hurry to see progress all over. We want to see peace and security, but we are also not afraid to discuss any issue. And therefore,
including issues of state creation, including issues of state police, including issues of fiscal federalism,
including
and all these issues mentioned, including by President Tinubu while he was in the opposition. So you're not afraid of all these issues?
No. If you talk about restructuring, depending on who you're talking with, you talk to people of someone from South, he wants own and manage his own resource. If you talk to the Southwest, they want to federalism, they want to own all the VAT that they collect. If you talk to if you talk to the Southeast, they want another state created, even though actually they neither have the space or the population to have that. But if you talk to us, now, what we want to do is to use what we have to get what we are looking for.
And what do you have that you're using to get what you're looking for?
We have over 70% of the landmass of Nigeria. We have over 60% of the population. So we are going to use our landmass and our population and our natural resources, especially soil and minerals, to sit and talk about restructuring. The North should no longer be viewed as running away from restructuring. We are ready and able and willing to commence discussions on these issues.
You're a lawyer, former chairman of the body of benchers. There are calls for a new constitution. Would you not be willing to sit with other parts of the country to firm up a new constitution that works for everyone if there's a sovereign national conference?
So guys, you can see that what we have in Nigeria is a divided country. I mean, everybody is seeking for the interests of their own section. You know, when Tinubu came into office, he said it's a Milocon, it's their own turn. And the Northerners are feeling cheated should any of these government offices be moved from Abuja to Lagos. So it appears we are not even looking for the benefits of Nigeria, the progress of Nigeria. We are just being, self-centered in terms of just seeking what will suit us and our people, not what is going to suit the entire Nigeria. So, guys, I'm going to allow you watch this interview. This was a very detailed interview, just for you people to know that the Northerners are not happy with some of the policies Tinubu is bringing to the table, especially when it has to do with moving some of these offices from Abuja to Lagos.
But now the Northern Senators Forum is calling for calm following reactions trailing the planned relocation of some departments of the Central Bank of Nigeria to Lagos at the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, FAN. The forum says an opportunity for dialogue and negotiation on the issue with President Bola Tinubu will happen, and they have expressed readiness to engage the president. In a statement by the spokesman of the forum, Senator Suleiman Kawu Sumaila, legal measures will be sought if negotiation fails. That's what he said. It assures that the forum will take action in line with the provisions of the 1999 Constitution as amended, stressing that no one should be apprehensive over the relocation of the critical agencies of government. Now, the Arewa Consultative Forum had kicked against the planned relocation, describing the move as a deliberate plot against the interests of the northern region. They say recent government policies make it look like there's a plan to shift the seat of power to Lagos, which used to be the former federal capital of Nigeria. Well, for more on this, I'm glad to have in studio Bashir Delhatu, who is the chairman, board of trustees of the Arewa Consultative Forum, ACF. He's a senior advocate of Nigeria, life bencher, and former chairman of the body of benchers. He was a former minister in 3 ministries: transport and aviation, power and steel, and interior in the governments of Chief Ernest Shonekan, General Sani Abacha, and General Abdulsalami Abubakar. So glad to have you join us.
Thank you very much.
And I also want to add that you're the Wazirin Dusi
Yes, I am.
was it.
Yes.
Yeah, much more revered traditional title. All right, talk to us about the ACF's problems and with the Tinubu administration on these issues, which has made a lot of people within this apex organization in the north to actually voice their concerns, including the ACF pushing out a statement that the Tinubu government should have a rethink over the policies.
Thank you very much. Well, to understand the position of the Arewa Consultative Forum and I believe majority of Northerners now is to first of all go into a little bit of history so that people will now be able to understand why Arewa is feeling a bit apprehensive. Anybody my age and above will remember how prosperous this country was, and especially the northern region, based on the agricultural output and activity of a majority of our population. Then there was the discovery of oil, and then everybody forgot about agriculture, and the rush into oil had caused a very serious deficit in the performance of agriculture and full production, and therefore making the economy work in various directions. That rush has left, obviously, when there are less activities in agri sector, means that there will be less economy and economic activity and money and prosperity in those areas that depend entirely on agriculture, which is northern Nigeria. Now, with that also come along the other government programs, projects, some of them deliberate, some of them, I think, innocent lack of foresight, that further made northern Nigeria far more apprehensive and began to feel that something must have been amiss. We have been brought up, my generation and those before me, to believe in the oneness of Nigeria, to work, to protect, to promote the oneness of this country, to unify it, to be united, and to love our neighbors. So, but when programs like the current one you are talking about,
the planned relocation of
the planned relocation is just the tip of the iceberg, really. It started much earlier than that. We were here when, in 1999, we were part of the Port Authority, Nigerian Port Authority, was removed from Abuja back to Lagos. Nigerian International Institute of International Affairs, and I think maybe in Nimasa were returned to Lagos, and we thought it was really not a very, very well-intentioned thing to do at that time. Now that will quickly, we recall other government actions that had put us backwards, like the privatization of industries in Nigeria.
Government-owned enterprises.
Yes, government-owned enterprises were privatized, and this was after the petroleum discovery and the rush and the businesses that took place. Naturally, those in the proximity of the source of wealth were getting it easier than those that are far away from it. So they were able to buy off all the government, hitherto jointly owned natural wealth of the country were sold, and we believe over 80% of those went to the south. Our view at that time was that if you are selling a jointly owned government or industries or enterprises, you should sell them to the states.
To state governments.
To state governments who will now hold in trust to individuals, so that you can sell to individuals and states, and where the states cannot be able to sell all, will keep interest. So that in the end, the ownership is still going to be, well, the enterprises will still be privatized, but the ownership will still be Nigerian. Unfortunately, that didn't happen that way. So that one also pushed the North backwards in terms of resources, in terms of economic activity.
Yeah, but some of these enterprises were also bought by Northerners.
Yes.
I mean, a whole lot of Northerners. And you and I will quite agree that Lagos is the financial capital of Nigeria. So if the CBN is actually moving some departments to Lagos to, according to it, allow for effectiveness and functionality, why should the ACI be kicking against that? And moreover, some others are also saying that the airports, the federal airports of Nigeria, will function much more better in Lagos than in Abuja. As you had mentioned previously, NPA was moved from Abuja to Lagos because the ports are in Lagos. And then you have NIIA, which, I mean, the foundation was in Lagos, but eventually it was taken there. So isn't the ACF considering the reality on ground and then, of course, the decisions of government?
If you talk about transferring FAAN to Lagos because there are more airline activities in Lagos than in Abuja, then you should take the Ministry of Commerce to Onitsha or Kano, because there is far more commercial activities in Onitsha and Kano than in Abuja. You should take the Ministry of Education or Agriculture to Makati, where there is a lot of agricultural activity and food production. You can distribute these ministries to locations according to the kind of activity you can identify. But that is not the intention or the reason or the purpose of establishing a federal capital territory. It's supposed to be in itself a symbol of unity, a symbol of togetherness of this country. The moment you start dismembering ministries back to Lagos, first you are establishing a precedence, which means next government it comes on and it doesn't happen to come from the south, will now return them or transfer others from Lagos back to Abuja, and it will be
maybe Kaduna also.
Kaduna, Sokoto or Calabar or things like that. So the intention really is to make institutions symbolic of our unity, symbolic of the purpose of this country, and not to give reasons. If you say congestion, when you mention congestion in relation to cities, anybody you talk about congestion will first think of Lagos.
But the CBN is saying that it's building. The CBN headquarters here is supposed to actually house 3,000 employees, but it has over 4,000. And the CBN spends money sending its own staff to go to Lagos to spend 2 months, 3 months to do certain jobs, which normally should have been domiciled in Lagos, and that they're spending so much. So, for effectiveness, the CBN is saying that it wants to decongest its headquarters. And people are wondering, why is the ACF or why are northerners or northern leaders or elites actually having a problem with that?
First of all, the CBN building and the staff must have been in Abuja for nearly 30 years now. Yes. And we never heard about this until suddenly it came up. That's one. Two, we know that in Lagos, the banking supervision department is very strong in Lagos already. It never moved to Abuja. So it could still do its function there. Three, at the age of technology now, you can work for a Chinese company in China while you sit here in Abuja and still perform your function. For CBN to say that it does not have that kind of upgrade in its own operations, so we think it's not true.
And some other southern groups are also hitting back at northern elites like you, and they said, look, if we look at the military architecture of the country, the northern part of the country, specifically Kaduna State, houses the headquarters of several military institutions. Right from the Armed Forces Command and Staff College, you go to Nigeria Army Depot, you go to 1 Division, you go to the Air Force, and so many. That if that's the case, then the North doesn't have the wherewithal to actually speak on this, because there's a huge concentration of the military and its armament in the northern part of the country.
If you ask me, I would say maybe it is due to Kaduna's centrality on this in Nigeria. If we have got a Papa port, we have Tinkan ports, we have other ports in Lagos. But that's because that's the natural area where they should be. There is a reason for that. And therefore there are reasons for this congregation of military establishments in Kaduna. I think that's because Kaduna occupies a central portion of this country, and military operations will be far easier to spread, to reach out to all parts of Nigeria from Kaduna than if they were in Lagos to reach Sokoto or Maiduguri, or if they are in Calabar to reach these distant places. So everything has a reason. I remember when this country actually had a concerted policy that if you place an industry in the south, you will try and place it in the north. If you remember the steel complexes, the airports, the hospitals, the
motor vehicle plants, and all of
plants,
that.
yes.
Yeah, in the 70s.
They were actually, these are government well thought out policies in order to distribute resources to allow Nigerians access to prosperity. But they have been long abandoned and not pursued.
And you've made me to actually remember what General Murtala Mohammed had said while he was instituting the Federal Capital Territory, which is Abuja and FCT. He has said in his maiden broadcast on the establishment of the Federal Capital Territory that Lagos will specifically serve as the economic capital of Nigeria, and that Kaduna, Port Harcourt, and Enugu will be developed alongside Lagos and Abuja to ensure that it deflects the powers within the country and not to allow the FCT to become a replica of Lagos, which they were running from, and for Lagos not to be left out because, of course, it's the economic capital. Now, the North has been in power for several years, and people are wondering why Northerners are not seeing this from a national perspective. They say that this point you're bringing against President Tinubu is from a narrow-centered perspective. How do you reply to such critics?
When I started talking, I said there were so many reasons why we feel the way we do feel this. Let me remind you, some years back, there was the issue of recapitalization of banks. Suddenly also it came up, and the North had 9 healthy, quite average-sized banks, but they were healthy. But the recapitalization wiped them out.
That was the former Cbn Governor Charles
Soludo's project wiped them out, and we ended up with not a single bank in the North. Well, and we know what a bank is.
The Bank of the North became the Unity Bank.
Yes.
And of course, majority of the shares were owned by Northerners and all of that, and then a few banks here and there.
Not anymore. I don't think now if you check it, you'll find that.
Yeah, but these are economic decisions. And you have Northerners, wealthy Northerners. Banks are private-owned institutions. No, so why the Northerners not opening their banks?
This was a government policy.
Yeah, for 25 billion naira as capitalization.
Yes,
and of course, they are rich Northerners. How come the Northerners
didn't
don't want to
take
go
into consideration that if you put that kind of policy, a whole sector of this country will be deprived of the banking system. But that's not even the problem. After we lost 9 banks, then the central bank continued to prop up other banks that it has saved with the jointly owned resources of this country. So we lost our banks. The banks that remained were propped up with our own money, and we keep all the money in these banks. You try and go to get a loan from any of these banks and see how difficult it is. Meanwhile, all our money is in these banks. And okay, they put 1 or 2 Northerners some on the board for window dressing, but it is a fact that we are deprived even to reach sources of loan in order to pursue legitimate.
Yeah, but when you say we are deprived, who is depriving you? Because I mean, since 1999, okay, if Obasanjo deprived you through that policy, through the former CBN governor, Charles Chukwuma Soludo, how about when Yar'Adua became president? I mean, he's a Northerner from Katsina State, and after that we'll have former President Muhammadu Buhari, a Northerner from Katsina State too. If you had those years, and of course that's cumulatively like about 10 years, how come you didn't design some programs to actually protect Northern interests? And how come the ACF is also being accused of propping up some of these issues only when it loses power, when the North is not in power, when it's a Southerner that's in government like Tinubu?
We don't view this as loss of power. A Northerner was in power in the last 8 years, but I don't think the North was in power. a northerner was on the top of the government.
That's a highly political statement.
Yes, very well, yes. But that you cannot say we are in power. North was not in power. I come from a village in Jigawa State, and in the last 20 years, very little has changed. Whatever changed was because of the effort of the state government, not the federal government. You can tell so many other towns in Nigeria, in northern Nigeria, that had not changed in any way, that had not experienced any federal patronage because the northerner was in government. We are brought up to see Nigeria as one entity, and not to discriminate against other sections of the country. That's why probably you will see a northerner as president, and he was more concerned in doing the second Niger bridge, while there is a Kano-Maiduguri road that has been there for 30 years and is still uncompleted, while there is a Kaduna.
Isn't it right for him to do that? Because the vast majority of the resources of this country come from oil, and which is in the southern part of the country. And you and I know that, of course, they also deserve some attention.
You are making my point. I'm saying that as president, he didn't see that as part of outside northern Nigeria.
So he was more nationalistic.
Exactly, and that's our own upbringing, all of us.
So are you saying that the southern presidents like President Tinubu are not very nationalistic like
I don't
northern
think,
presidents?
I don't think this move had the President Tinubu's approval.
I think
some government officials always believe that to keep their jobs, they need to please their bosses, right or wrongly. And then they embark on adventures like this transfer of sections of their establishments back to Lagos, thinking that the president would be happy because he came from Lagos. And I don't believe that he deliberately will say, look, remove this thing, take them to Lagos. North do not, I don't think we believe that, first of all. Secondly, the North had voted him massively, so the least that they would expect is some kind of political dividend of democracy, not reduction in their opportunity, and not reduction in their prosperity, not reduction in their...
Yeah, but well, as a former Minister of Aviation yourself, you and I know that when it comes to airline traffic into Nigeria, it's usually more in Lagos, which happens to be in southern Nigeria. It's the former federal capital. But let me just take you back to a very critical talk here and there, that this is just the views of some northern elites. I mean, just a few of you here and there, that what the average northerner is interested in is curbing the issues of insecurity, the heightening issues of kidnapping, insurgency, and all of that. That this is just an elite consensus at the top, while the vast majority of northerners actually need the issues of insecurity tackled by President Tinubu.
No, the insecurity issue had been going on for over 10 years, and it has not improved. We have not, I personally believe that we may have lost all sorts of opportunities to take care of it at the right time, but we didn't, and we seem to be actually giving up hope because there doesn't seem to be any improvement. In fact, it's worsening. People in Abuja were just thinking or talking or hearing about insecurity in Maiduguri, in Katsina, in Sokoto, in Kaduna, but now the thing has crept up to Abuja and they are encircling this town. So there is palpable feeling here that the insecurity has come. Only God knows how far it will go if nothing different.
Yeah, and they said the ACF and elites like you are not talking so much about insecurity, but when it comes to economic interests, where your interests are touched, you quickly come out and you talk about political issues.
Well, I'm not in aviation business. None of us is. I don't think we are, by our constitution in the ACF, we are supposed to look after the interest and protect it and promote it, our people, in a way that will not affect the unity of this country. So that while we still feel for our people, we still feel for other Nigerians. And when it is deprivation, if you deprive a Jigawa person, to us, It's as bad as depriving a Kalagoman. So this, we are still in our head, we have not yet separated the fact that although we are Northerners, but we are Nigerians. And when things that affect North that will probably affect Nigeria or our thinking, then we react. It's nothing to do with the elites. Ordinary man in the street in the North is aware of this. And today, communication has grown so vast that what you are doing, you and I now here, is seen all over the world. So the smallest man on the street has got a telephone that he sees, that he hears, that he listens to radios. So he knows it. And he knows that he has voted this government into power so that he could have some kind of relief.
Yeah, and one of your own.
And security.
Bashir Dalatu, one of your own is the vice president of this country, Kashim Shettima, former governor of Borno State, former two-term governor. Haven't you had access to him to actually speak with him and say, look, this government is not going in the direction that we like, or some of the policies ongoing, we don't really like it? Wouldn't he feel a little bit taken aback that you're coming to the open without having heard his own view and maybe what he's doing within the government? And how soon do you also plan to see President Tinubu on these issues if he grants you an audience?
Okay, let me say that it's leadership. We have just come into office recently. In person, I know the Vice President quite well. I know the President well. And I am sure that it will not be a problem for me to talk to either of them. As I talk to you now, I have signed a letter requesting for an audience with the President so that the leadership of SCF can have the opportunity to sit and discuss these issues with him. But until now, there have been so many press releases, press conferences, and people voicing their opinion, and this has covered the whole of the North.
Yeah, and including religious groups, because just last week, the Sharia Council of Nigeria, they shouted, and they were called upon just a few days, and I saw them with the president, and he was trying to extract some commitment from them after informing them of some of his policies. Well, we do hope that the president will be reaching out to you. As we try to round off this conversation, talk to me about the northern idea of Nigeria's unity, because there's a huge outcry for restructuring in the country right now. Do you think that whatever you've been talking about is a subtle kind of restructuring by President Tinubu that is being done under the table? Or what's your view about the new call for restructuring under President Tinubu?
Well, I have given you a background of how a normal northerner thinks. He thinks Nigeria first, unity, strength, oneness of purpose. He thinks also North. But Nigeria. So for us, it is because of this deep-seated belief in this country that made some people begin to think that the North or Northerners are afraid of restructuring. And that is complete misunderstanding of our situation. But of course, they were also dealing with our predecessors that are much older than us, that are closer to them. I'm talking now about socio-cultural organizations in this country. The leadership in the North has shifted to a new generation like us that are less patient, that are in a hurry to see progress all over. We want to see peace and security, but we are also not afraid to discuss any issue. And therefore,
including issues of state creation, including issues of state police, including issues of fiscal federalism,
including
all these issues mentioned, including by President Tinubu while he was in the opposition. So but you're not afraid of all these issues?
No. If you talk about restructuring, depending on who you're talking with, you talk to people of someone from South, he wants own and manage his own resource. If you talk to the Southwest, they want to federalism, they want to own all the VAT that they collect. If you talk to the Southeast, they want another state created, even though actually they neither have the space or the population to have that. But if you talk to us now, what we want to do is to use what we have to get what we are looking for.
And what do you have that you're using?
We have over 70% of the land mass of Nigeria. We have over 60% of the population. So we are going to use our land mass and our population and our natural resources, especially soil and minerals, to get to sit and talk about restructuring. The North should no longer be viewed as running away from restructuring. We are ready and able and willing to commence discussions on these issues.
You're a lawyer, former chairman of the body of benchers. There are calls for a new constitution. Would you not be willing to sit with other parts of the country to firm up a new constitution that works for everyone, if there is the Sovereign National Conference or National Constitutional Conference or whatever it is?
The main objection that I have been hearing in the news, including from lawyers, that this constitution that we are operating was not people's constitution, that it was actually a military constitution. But forgetting that actually, although the military had to put a decree to produce it, it is actually Nigerian people from different local governments that were elected by elected local governments to meet in Lagos, including myself, in 1978.
Oh, you were part of the Constituent Assembly?
Yes. And they fashioned out the 1979 Constitution. And that is, people who criticize it as military do not understand that it is not true, because we are moving from military to civilian. You need a military law to bring a civilian-made constitution into effect. And that's what has happened.
Yeah, but a few things were added by the then General Abdulsalami Abubakar administration, which you were part of as a minister. What actually happened? What were the few insertions added to the 1979 Constitution, which became the 1998 Constitution?
Before there was a 1999 Constitution, which was just the basic foundation of work was the 1979 Constitution till today. That's what is being used. Of course, it was tinkered here and there. And the military, when they get reports, even the 1989 Constitution,
which was never adopted,
was created by civilians. I was there at that one too. So, but it is semantic. When you say, some people want to even change it completely to parliamentary system. If you talk to me about that, then we can discuss whether presidential or parliamentary. But if they are supporting presidential, they can only take the 1999 now as amended and tinker with it and change it. But we have been talking about constitution reform.
All right.
But the message here is clear. That
very, very quickly as we try to round up.
Yes. Our message is clear. We are Nigerians, we love Nigeria. We want a united country, peaceful and secure. But we also want to be treated as equal Nigerians, with opportunities equal to everybody, not more than anybody else, but equal to everybody. We want justice and fairness to be the main war cry.
So guys, you can hear the Northerners talking about justice and fairness. This was the cry of those from the southeast, during the time of Buhari. They needed this justice and fairness, and the Northerners were just mum, as in they kept quiet. Nobody tried to a kind of correct Buhari's nepotism that we saw across, his appointments and even his body language. So many things went wrong during the time of Buhari, and the Northerners kept mum, as in they all kept quiet. Now they are coming out to cry that they want justice and fairness. So guys, we all know that the North has had, the leadership position in Nigeria the more than any other section of this country. I mean, they've ruled Nigeria the most, comparing with other parts of the country. And they have access to the resources of this country. We know that even the money that is being generated from oil, it is even the Northerners that enjoy it the most, because most of the projects are in the North. You can imagine most of the government bodies and, offices, and also so many projects. You talk of the military and everything, they are all located in the North. There are parts of this country that does not even enjoy, some of these benefits from the federal government, but the North has enjoyed most. I mean most, some of these governors, they get all these allocations, their states do not even generate any revenue. And this happens every month. They just come to take from the purse of the federation. They themselves, they don't generate. It is Lagos and maybe River State and also places like like in the southeast, you talk about Anambra State, where we have commercial activities. These are places where revenues are being generated, and other parts of the country. But when you talk about the north, they generate the least of revenue. But when it comes to benefits, they get the most. I mean, the north has always been on the beneficial side of the resources of this country. And now you hear them talk about justice and fairness. I don't think it is fair for them to even channel this discussion in that direction. Let them just come out to negotiate, so that everything will be balanced. That's why people talk about restructuring this country. This country really needs to be restructured so that every section of this country will feel belong. Look at the people in the south, is the field, neglected. The people, even the south, where the real oil is coming from, you see that there is no real big projects happening in places like that. Some of them can barely eat, their environments have been destroyed and all that. They don't get any benefit, no free education for those from that section. Some of them that are sent abroad on scholarship basis, they will hardly even get some of those benefits that is meant for them and all that. I think there are a lot when it comes to security situation in Nigeria is really getting out of hand. And like I always say, it appears the government does not even have a strategy, that they want to really follow to ensure that these security challenges are brought to zero. You can see what this headline says. Remi Tinubu advocates for intense prayer to combat insecurity while moving in bulletproof cars. Armed security. So this is what I keep saying, that these leaders, they are just detached from the reality of what Nigerians are going through. So you can imagine what Nigerians pass through every day of their lives, especially for those who travel, using cars. I mean, land travel. People are really being tensed up. People are afraid. You are traveling. You are just, you might end up having hypertension because you are afraid of being kidnapped. That is what is happening. Although that of Abuja is currently in the news, but I tell you, this kidnapping is happening across the nation. And this headline equally says, lawless herders turn Ekiti multi-million naira farm to grazing land. Honestly, these Fulani herders, they are really so fearless. When it was a time for Buhari, people thought it was because Buhari was the president. Possibly that was what was aiding their boldness. But you can see, even despite the fact that Buhari is no longer there, they are not afraid of anybody. We've seen all the massacre going on across the nation. You can imagine if it were to be another tribe that was causing this menace. Do you know what would have happened to that tribe? Honestly, it would have been hell. But look, these Fulani headsmen, they are doing all these things and they are getting away with it. We've not really seen Nigeria prosecute these Fulani headsmen, despite the fact that they've killed so many. There was a headline I saw yesterday. It shocked my bones. I mean, it shocked me to my bones, where they were mentioning the number of people that were killed in 2021. I was like, God, what is this? I mean, in terms of this Fulani farmers header clash that we've seen across Nigeria, if you know the number of people that have lost their lives, you will be wondering why these people are still left roaming the streets of Nigeria. But you can see they still get away with all their crime. So that is the kind of Nigeria where we are, where the law applies to a certain people and does not apply to a certain people. I just hope that this Nigeria will work. So guys, this other headline says Abia government uncovers tunnel where kidnappers keep victims. So it is happening everywhere. Yes, it's happening everywhere. And don't forget that since Oti took over office, there was a time they discovered decayed bodies of people close to where, these Fulanis have their market in Abia State. And that was how, I think that market was closed down for some days, and possibly they all sat down and talked before they reopened it. But I want to tell you that the level of insecurity, I'm just wondering, when Nigeria say they are bringing investors who want to come and invest in such an environment. And this other headline says over 190 repented Boko Haram terrorists released back into communities. Nigerian Defense Headquarters, that is coming from them. They are saying that they are releasing these people. Since Buhari came into power till now, we've seen so many repented Boko Haram. Some of them are empowered, and we've also heard people come out to see, even those of them that say they've repented. They saw them, went back to the bushes to meet these terrorists. And you can imagine. So we don't even know the kind of training they give to these people before they release them. We only hear that they've repented. These are people that have killed and maimed, others. They will just be given express forgiveness and be released back into the society. But we have innocent Nigerians who are languishing across the prisons, the correctional centers in Nigeria. Nobody is even calling up their cases. Some of them are very ignorant. But you see Boko Haram people that have fought and their hands are stained. You see them getting this forgiveness. Sometimes they are even giving money. They are giving maybe some skill set and all that. In Nigeria, criminality pays. That's just it. And you can see it for yourself. So you can imagine this happening in the country, and we say we want to end insecurity. It's going to be very difficult. So this coming from Wike, and it says kidnappers hiding in Abuja forest, says FCT Minister Wike. So if they know where these people are, why are they not going there to dislodge them? You know, it has always been like that in Nigeria. We've always heard that, you know, the Zambiza forest is where these Boko Haram are being housed. I mean, the members of Boko Haram, that is their base. Tell me or ask me what keeps the Nigerian government away from going to clear that Zambiza forest. At least, you know, bring it down, so that these terrorists would leave that environment. If you know where is housing them. Okay, Tinubu said he was going to raise forest guards when he takes over office. We are yet to see that happen. You know, there is nothing like that happening, and that is what is emboldening these terrorists. They get their victims and they go into forest, and from there they start negotiating, and from one forest to the other they keep reconnecting them to other places. Before you know it, they've moved from one state to another, and that is what is even making it difficult, you know, in terms of rescuing their victims. So, and finally, look at this headline. This has to do with one of the people that were involved in the massacre that happened recently in the Plateau State. So this guy was arrested, and he's one of those people. So this person tweeted and said, the confession of Jibrin Nuhu, a 47-year-old Fulani settler in Gawaza village in Bokus, Plateau State. He tells the police that he was involved in the Xmas Eve massacre in Bogus, saying other Fulani gunmen from Nasarawa State joined them. Oh my God. He was born and raised in Gazawa, yet you can imagine. So guys, you can see that these communities, you know, welcomed these Fulanis. You know, some of them were born there. Now they've grown up to become terror to that environment. Honestly, these are some of the things we must condemn. So guys, before I allow you watch the video of this guy's interview, I want you to listen to what this human rights, will I call him a human rights lawyer that also has a kind of a television station stroke, a YouTube platform where he handles people's cases. He has come out to talk about the police and even how the police aids this kidnapping by collecting money from kidnapped victims. Honestly, Nigeria is in a total mess. You know, when we talk about cleansing Nigeria, I mean every parastatal should be cleansed. I mean everybody of the government, because this corruption is across board. Nobody is spared. Can you imagine the police that you are to trust? They are now asking victims of kidnapping, you know, to give them money before they will even tell you the next step that they want to take. Honestly, this is wrong. Let me allow you watch this video and alongside with the Fulani guy's interview, and drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you.
Trying to do something bad, or was he trying to rescue himself? No, the Nigerian government, they encourage people to pay ransom to kidnappers. See case where they do for papi, they pay a whole family. Yes, sir. The family go to the police. Police talk to me, then bring 250,000 naira. Abi? Yes, sir. They collect microphone. These people look for money. They can't manage, raise how much?
As at the last time I discussed with them, they said they raised 7 million. Yes, no, they said not.
Between them and police.
Okay, 250,000.
They can't raise how much out of the 250,000?
They didn't tell me how much they raised.
They said they raised 100,000 naira, gave to the police. And the police now said, okay, now, when I don't give this 100,000, make una go settle with the kidnappers. After they don't release the people, then you can come back, we will track them.
You are very correct. You are very correct, sir. Your brain is sharp.
So you can imagine, people were supposed to rescue you, they tell you to say go and cooperate. Even though I not go blame the police, it is for the safety of the people where they kidnap. You don't know who is who. Yes.
Madam President, I travel go east one of the days when I go. So when police stop me, as a Christian, I just they look, but now the police will be Muslim. Now him quote Bible for me. He say, make I go to Matthew 5:25. Make I read what he talk.
Muslim police?
Yes.
He quote Bible for you?
Yes. So
Matthew 5:25.
When I go read them, he says, settle with your adversary quick. Else he will take you to court.
So, guys, you can see what is happening in Nigeria. That is the police that is meant to protect you as a Nigerian. You know, they are meant to protect us. The government has that duty to protect us as citizens and also to protect our properties. But the other way is what we are seeing in Nigeria. Let me allow you to watch the interview of the Fulani guy. Although he was interviewed in Fulani, but just for you to like see the face of the people causing this menace. These are human beings like us, but I wonder why they are not having that feeling. You know, I don't know why they don't have that human feeling, that compassion, you know, that you can just take away the life of your fellow human being and it means nothing to you. I don't know where that is coming from. Take a look at that interview.
Ya kawo mutanen can daga area Nasarawa. Ka gaya mun a rubuce, na rubuta.
Ali.
Ali waye?
Ali Ibrahim.
To yanzu ya ne za mu yi mu samu Ali Ibrahim?
Yanzu sai dai in an je mashi.
In an je ina?
Gidan shi.
Gidan shi yana ina?
Na Taware.
Taware. To lokacin rikicin nan wani mutane ne ku kuka kashe? Za ka iya gaya mana sunan mutum ɗaya wanda ka sani wanda har da kai an kashe shi?
Shi ne Samon daga Taware.
Samon daga Taware. Ku kuka kashe shi kenan. To gaya mun, ka fara gaya mun, ka manta da sauran ne? Kana so in tunashar maka? Habibu Yakubu.
Haka.
Ka bani sunan
people, they involve themselves in all kinds of crime, especially when it has to do with taking away the lives of people, but we don't see prosecution. You know, when the Benue governor, the ex-governor of Benue State, you know, Samuel Otom, was lamenting even those that attempted, you know, taking away his lives, they were sent to Abuja. Before you know it, they've released them. Oh my God. I don't know. There are a lot going on in this country. So even interviewing this man and then posting it on the social media, will that bring justice? Are they ready to prosecute them? You hardly see these Fulanis in jail, even when they are arrested. Order from above, get them released. And I just keep wondering if that is also going to be happening in this current regime. I just pray that people should pay for their crime. That is my own position, because we need to start building a country that we the citizens can start having confidence in before the outsiders will have confidence and then will start coming to invest in Nigeria. Let me know what you think about all these points that I've just raised in this video. So guys, let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell. Please give this video a like so that YouTube can recommend it to more people, and let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. Thank you.